Welcome to the Ethics CE Update webinar. My name is Joanna Truitt, Manager for Continuing Education and Experience, and I'll be your host for the webinar today.
My name is Matt Hughes, Continuing Education Audit Report Administrator, and I'll be assisting.
We anticipate the webinar today will last about 30 minutes. And before we get started, I do have one housekeeping note. We'll hold questions until the end of the presentation. But as you think of one, please go ahead and type it into the Q&A text box on the right-hand side of the screen. And we'll address all questions at the end of the presentation. As promised, we wanted to ensure you had a current update on where we stand with Ethics CE for 2018. During this session, we will provide that update, review the program requirements for online delivery, as well as the final assessment requirement, course evaluation, and program submission process. So let's start with an update on where we are relative to the new program content and its deployment. We know that you're all anxious to have a date for deployment, and we are too. And as a result, we're positioning ourselves to act quickly once we've been given the green light to move forward. The full content package is currently out for third-party review. Once those reviews are completed, we'll make the recommended adjustments and changes before finalizing the material. The conclusion of this activity coincides with the Board of Directors meeting later this month. If the board ratifies the standards at the March meeting, the next steps will be for a formal announcement made via email and press release from CFP board. Unless there are major changes to the current version of the proposed standards, we should be in a position to make the new course content available to those of you who have completed the program request process within a day of that formal announcement. Ethics CE sponsors will access course-related documents through a link in their CE sponsor portal. This link will lead to a private web page with instructions and access to course material. Once the materials become available, we will reset the expiration date for your current online courses 45 days out. If for some reason the standards are not ratified later this month, we will extend the deadline date of your current ethics courses accordingly. Either way, we will send you an update with the news. Bottom line, please consider submitting your program request before the end of the month. We want you to be in a position to begin course development once the material becomes available. The course materials are organized in 3 documents: the Ethics CE presentation, an activities guide, and a course evaluation guide. The ethics presentation includes approximately 65 minutes of core content. This content is organized by the 5 learning objectives in a generic PowerPoint presentation. Each of the 50 core content slides includes detailed presentation notes. The learning objectives are tied directly to the proposed new standards. They were deliberately articulated and listed in what our subject matter experts considered a progressive order. You will, however, have flexibility in content order, screen design, and use of the provided narrative. You also have the flexibility to insert supplemental information. As long as this content ties specifically to one of the 5 learning objectives, it does not need to be pre-approved. We've discussed the desire for online courses to be highly interactive. The activities guide includes activities that can be easily adapted for online use. Organized by learning objective, this guide includes 19 polling questions. It includes a short 5-question quiz, 8 vignettes, and 3 case studies. Use the activities provided or make up your own. You have full flexibility in this area. We do, however, expect, at minimum, a short activity after the material for each learning objective has been presented.
We wanted to take a few minutes to do a quick review of the requirements for an online self-study program. Just as a reminder, this definition of self-study is applied to Ethics CE only. As we've discussed previously, self-study for Ethics CE is defined as an e-learning environment where there is real-time interaction with the content. We've had conversations with several CE sponsors who do not have learning management systems about our definition of online delivery. While we remain steadfast in our definition, we are open to creative methods of delivery. If you have any questions as to whether or not your plan meets our requirements, please give us a call so we can talk through this before you expend time and resources into a course that may or may not meet the requirements. Just as a reminder, methods of delivery that will no longer be accepted include listening to pre-recorded content with no monitoring or required activities, or unmonitored independent self-study. To ensure our delivery and interactive activity requirements are met, each online course will be audited by a CE staff member or a CFP volunteer within 6 to 8 weeks of the course going live. Any program that does not meet the requirements will immediately have the course status changed to inactive until the necessary changes and adjustments are made. Online courses will require a forced progression through the content, including successful completion of the activities, before access is given to the final assessment. For more details on the course requirements, we urge you to review all of the Ethics CE related updates on our website.
Once your self-study program request has been accepted, the sponsor's main point of contact will be emailed the online course assessment document, which contains the assessment requirements, summary of the learning objectives and stated competencies, the assessment question summary, as well as the question bank, which includes explanations for the correct response. Our subject matter experts have created 49 questions for the question bank. 20 questions, not 40, will be required for the final assessment. Each learning objective has been weighted and a minimum number of questions identified. For example, to test learning objective number 1, a final assessment is required to have a minimum of any 4 of the 11 questions provided. Learning objective 2 requires any 6 of the 9 questions provided, and so on. Just as a reminder, the rules for the final assessment have changed to fall in line with our self-study standard, 10 questions per hour of CE and a passing score of 70. We know many of you have a policy for those who, upon consecutive tries, are unsuccessful in passing a final assessment. If you don't currently have such a policy, we'll request you create one for Ethics CE. That policy can include a predetermined waiting period or a required retake of the course. We do anticipate, with the required forced progression, that few of our CFP professionals will actually fall in this category. Upon passing, we do request that an explanation of the correct response be visible to participants. As with the example here, each question provided in the course assessment document will include the rationale for the correct response. In addition to potentially adding supplemental content or creating your own activities, you do have the flexibility of building assessment questions, and we encourage you to do so. We'd like to increase the size of our question bank. And unlike the supplemental content, which can be added without pre-approval, any new assessment questions must be pre-approved and meet these two criteria. The first is that the question ties directly to a learning objective and competency. And second, that we have your understanding that any verified and approved questions will be added to the question bank. Our intent is to update the question bank periodically, adding questions to it, and then distributing to CE sponsors who are offering online courses. Before the course is considered complete and access is given to the certificate of completion, a course evaluation must be completed. Ethics CE is the only requirement universal to every CFP professional. So why are we insisting on a course evaluation? The answer is fairly basic. We want to demonstrate our commitment, as well as yours, to quality delivery and continual improvement to enhance learning. The feedback of your participants is essential for both of us to be successful in this endeavor. In a manner similar to what we've done for live program delivery, we are requesting sponsors to adopt some core questions related to the participants' experience with the ethics content. We consider this feedback necessary to objectively measure learning and satisfaction with the course delivery. We will, however, work very closely with you and review current evaluations that you might have for your existing coursework. The way in which you administer this course evaluation is up to you, but we do expect a 95 to 100% rate of return. We will be asking for a summary of these evaluations on a monthly basis when we first get started, and then on a quarterly basis. Initially, these requests will be made via email and include the number of attendance completions reported for a specific period of time. We will request you send us a PDF file with a summary and the individual responses for those course completions within 14 working days of the request. How will CFP board measure success? We ask that your evaluations be measurable on a 5-point scale. A program will be considered successful if it achieves an overall rating of 3.5 or higher. Any program receiving an overall rating of 3.0 or less may require reevaluation. CFP board and the CE sponsor should use these evaluations and will be using these evaluation ratings as a tool to ensure course delivery meets the highest possible standard. CFP board does reserve the right to require course changes based on the results of either the course audit and/or course evaluations. CFP board will be transparent in this manner and will share audit results with you in a timely manner. Once the course evaluation is complete, the certificant should have access to the certificate of completion, which, as is current practice, will include the program ID along with the completion date and assessment score. We will complete attendance reporting, and you will complete attendance reporting within 14 days of the course completion, just as you do currently. We talked about the importance of soliciting feedback from participants, and we feel your feedback is equally important. This is a new process for both of us, and we want to ensure you have everything you need to build a solid course. While we have not defined plans as to the best way to solicit your feedback, don't be surprised if you have an invitation to set up a short call or a request to participate in a focus group in early summer. Either way, we'll touch base with each of you at some point in the next few months after the material becomes available.
As we mentioned at the beginning of this presentation, we want to ensure you're ready to access the course content as soon as it's available. Once your program entry has been accepted and the course information is released, a link will appear under your sponsor management profile, giving you access to the ethics content. First, you want to go to cfp.net, click on Continuing Education Sponsors, then CFP Board Ethics, and get started to view everything you need to know before you start your program entry. We've scripted your program entry, so you'll want to be sure to get it right. We've talked before about invoicing a 25-cent seat license tied to reported course completions. This fee won't be initiated until the third or fourth quarter of 2018, and more details will be provided once we have a content release date.
Once your program entry has been accepted and the course information is released, a link will appear under your sponsor management profile, giving you access to the ethics content. The ethics content will appear on the private page. It'll be in two categories. There'll be one category for documents related to live program presentations, and a second category related to creation of online courses. Within each, there'll be an explanation of the document and then a link to the document, which can then be downloaded and shared with your team as required.
This concludes the formal part of our presentation. Now for your questions. Andrea asked, is 70% passing rate per learning objective or cumulative overall?
Oh, it's 70% overall, just as our current requirements are for an online self-study course.
Bill asked, when we get the materials, is it just standards or is it the actual presentation that we just need to deliver?
Well, it's kind of a combination of both. We actually summarize the new standards in a PowerPoint presentation with notes related to the content on the slide. They are in order by learning objective, and once you receive it and you've had a good review of the material, you really are free and have some discretion as to how you choose to offer or display the material within your course. So you've got full flexibility in that area.
Bill also asked, so technically the current online course that we have did not expire on 12/31. They are still allowed to access and use.
Absolutely. Any course that was active in 2017, as long as the sponsorship was renewed, we did extend the deadline date or the expiration date of those courses to 4/30/2018. The idea is that once the material becomes available to you, you'll have at least 45 days to create the new course. And at that point, we will make the current course inactive.
Carl asked if we're going to be sending the Dec presentation or the Dec of the presentation after this webinar.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, we always follow up with our webinars with a thank you, and we'd be happy to include the slide deck as well as make sure that it's posted along with the recording of the webinar on the website.
Frank asked, can you expand upon your comment about previously recorded content delivery for courses?
Absolutely. When we had started talking about what a self-study ethics course would look like, the two types of delivery that we were not in favor of, specifically for ethics CE, was a recorded webinar, where in fact there was little or any or no engagement with the participant. So again, a live webinar delivery would be considered the same as a live program. That's acceptable. But at this point, we are looking for a course that is developed that allows some interaction with the content, either through, case studies and responses to questions about case studies, or vignettes, or mini quizzes after every single module. So in that case, just putting up a recorded webinar with no activity tied to it would not be sufficient.
Andrew asked, will you be providing the rationale for assessments?
I'm assuming...
For the assessment question.
Yeah, for the assessment questions, yes, absolutely. So as the example, again, I know it was really briefly flashed on the screen. For each assessment question, the correct answer is provided, and the rationale for the correct response is also provided.
Andrew asked, the evaluation does not appear to have questions about the assessment. Can the evaluation be provided prior to them taking the assessment to help force the completion prior to reporting?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. In fact, that's a great idea. Hadn't been brought up before. But Andrea, I think you make an excellent point. You're absolutely right. We're not evaluating on the assessment. The assessment is what it is. And I think that's a great idea to provide access to the course evaluation before they take the final assessment.
Leslie asked, will you have a required minimum amount of time a student must wait after 3 unsuccessful attempts?
We leave that, again, totally up to you. We know that many of you already have policies related to retakes for assessments. Whatever that current policy is, we're fine with. And again, for some organizations that might not address that in their policy, we are asking that you please do in advance, just so that, the CFP professional knows right up front what's expected and what the consequence might be for not passing the course after 3 attempts, or passing the assessment after 3 attempts.
Colleen had asked, please re-explain the current COE course extension period, 45 days from when?
Hypothetically. So no one can quote me on this, although I know it is a recording. So just as an example, if in fact we were able to release to you the course material on April 1st, and again, this is one of the reasons why we're really asking that your organization complete the program submission process early. We'd love for you to have that done before the end of this month. That would put you in the best position to have immediate access to the content as soon as we're given the green light. So if we were given the green light to give you access to content on April 1st, you would then have 45 days from April 1st, which would put you around May 15th, to have the new course up and ready.
Christina had asked, how much additional do you have to pay to be an ethics provider if you are already approved as a general provider?
That was another one of the changes that we made this year.
Mm-hmm.
So the concept of having to pay 2 sponsorships, one for general CE and one for ethics CE, was changed. If you're a general sponsor, you are eligible to be an ethics CE provider. Again, the difference is that because we're providing you the course material and content, the normal $20 an hour CE fee doesn't apply with ethics. So you'll find when you go to the shopping cart that if you're a nonprofit organization, your fee for ethics will be $250. If you're a for-profit organization, that fee will be $500. There is a savings there, and so for those of you, for example, who are nonprofit, you would, under the old model, pay the $250 sponsorship fee plus another $40 in program fees. So you've got a $40 savings there. That savings for for-profit organizations is $80 on an annual basis.
Ashley asked, are we required to include supplemental materials above and beyond what's provided?
Oh, absolutely not. And in fact, I'm going to be honest with you, we have a lot of content, and it's really good content. Like I said, it's in third-party review right now, and we've actually gotten some feedback from 2 of our reviewers. And, you know, one of the things they say is like, holy cow, you have a lot of content. So we're actually taking a look at it. We want to provide you as much as possible so that you do, in fact, have some options. So right now, actually, when we timed out, for example, the PowerPoint slides and the instructor notes, if you will, related to the content on each slide, we came up with 65 minutes of content. For an online perspective and even for a live program perspective, that means that you have about 40 minutes or so for activities. So again, we feel pretty comfortable that what we're providing you, you'll have absolutely no problem with 100 or 120 minutes.
Sandy asked, with lessons and assessment questions during each lesson, will there be a final like there is now in self-study?
Yes, absolutely. The intent for the activities, however you choose to structure them. So for example, when we talked about the aid vignettes, they're short scenarios that we've developed that tie very specifically to one of the new standards. And then there are a series of questions that are tied to that scenario. So the idea is to reinforce the content that they've just reviewed for a particular section or a particular learning objective. The final assessment does what it's supposed to do to ensure that, in fact, the learning objectives have been achieved as it relates to student learning.
So Colleen asked, as a follow-up to her previous question, originally the content was to be available in December, January, and the current COE courses were to expire April 30th, giving sponsors 3 months to implement this content. Now we are being given 45 days. Any consideration to extending the deadline to implement this content? This is a real pinch in timeline. Yikes.
Well, we've always talked in terms of the board of directors moving forward from the date that the board of directors ratified the new standards. For obvious reasons, we can't release content until that has occurred. And 45 days has really been the amount of time that's been in our vernacular. So again, not knowing what action or exactly when the board of directors would take action in this first quarter, we went ahead and automatically extended all of the expiration dates to April 30th. Obviously, if you need another week or 2 to get the new course content up, absolutely, by all means, just give us a call and we'll make that accommodation. We are hoping that with some advanced planning that most of you will be able to meet a 45-day turnaround time.
Rihanna asked, if someone has purchased our self-study course and has not taken it, then you enact this new course, are they able to still take the older version?
Well, that's where we get into kind of a little bit of a gray area. And again, it's conversations that we had with all of you, I think they were this summer, where we talked about the possibility of the new course being available at the beginning of the year and our concern for a participant who had signed up for the course, say, for example, in November, and has a year to complete it. My suggestion is that for those individuals that have purchased the current ethics course, that maybe you message them and ask them to complete it as quickly as possible. And the reason I say that is the reality is once your new course is available, you know, that old course is no longer valid. So yes, there'll be some messaging, and it was one of the conversations, like I said, that we had with all of you this summer to talk about that a little bit. So if you need any, you know, blame it on CFP board, but again, we want to make sure that the old courses are in fact archived and no longer available or in use, and the new courses are. It might be a situation where you make a decision that if they haven't completed it, that you actually transfer their registration from the old course to the new course, which would make things fairly easy on the end user's part, and then they'll automatically be in the new course and it'll be a moot point.
So Jessica asked, since it's a live webinar, the instructor must be an ethics-approved instructor, correct?
Correct.
Christina followed up. So if you are a for-profit company, you will have to pay an additional $500 above and beyond our general fee to provide an ethics course? Or is it free if you already paid? Sorry if I was unclear.
Oh, Christina, not a problem. Again, last year, as an example, your organization would have paid a $500 sponsorship fee to be a general sponsor. They would have paid another $500 to be an ethics sponsor. So this year, one sponsorship fee, $500, but you are correct. The program fee for ethics did increase from $80 to $500. So overall, you have an $80 savings. So yes, we transferred the cost and the process of having a second sponsorship fee and move that to the course fee. But the difference there too is that we're also creating and providing you all the content.
Leslie asked, will you please go over again exactly what format we will be getting the content in? Was it just PowerPoint slides, or were there additional types of material?
It's a combination of both. It's PowerPoint slides. So again, everything would be in order, if you will, by learning objective with all of the content. Some of the slides or some of the content on the slides would be identified as required. Other slides will be marked as optional, meaning just that. You know, they don't necessarily have to be used. You can transfer the information from that generic PowerPoint into your own branded templates. You can rearrange the content just as long as the required content is covered. You'll have a number of secondary documents. One document will be that activities guide. And in that activities guide, again, those case studies and vignettes that we referred to, as well as those, you know, real quick polling questions that you could insert at any different point during the presentation. That'll be in a Word document, so it would be relatively easy for you to copy and paste. The next document that you'll have will be the assessment document, and it too will have not only instructions, it'll also have, you know, a summary table of all the questions that you have. That'll be in a Word document, making it easy to copy and paste. And again, however your learning management system works as it relates to randomizing and producing questions for a final assessment, you'll have all of those rules to be able to set for your learning management system.
So Destry asked, will the online ethics request appear under review in the Manage Program section of your CE sponsor management profile when you've submitted it. Is there anything else that they need to do?
Yeah, no, and we appreciate there are 5 of you, including FPA, who have in fact registered your programs. Thank you very much. We are keeping them in the under review status until we have the green light to give you access to the new content. So the way it'll work, again, hypothetically, if in fact we were given the green light on April 1st, what we will do then in the system is we will make your current active course inactive. We won't change the expiration date. The expiration date will stay to April 30th. And in fact, for those of you doing online, we'll extend it to May 15th. So again, individuals in that course can complete it up through May 15th, and they'll be good to go. What we will do then is we will make your new program active, which will immediately then assign a program ID, and it's that active status that will then make the link appear in your CE sponsor portal, and it's through that link that you'll have access to the private web page. So again, I know it sounds, it's hard to explain, probably easier to be said in writing, and we'll put it in writing. But yes, when you submit a program for 2018, it will stay in the pending review status until the material is available. Then you'll see the status change to accepted, and you'll see that link pop up in your portal.
Sandy asked, what exactly is it we're requesting on CFP.net to receive the content?
If you go to the web pages, and let's see, we'll back up a slide or two, see if we can find it real quick. So as we're explaining, if you go to the website, and let me just kind of scroll through here real quick. If you go to our website and take a look at all of the material that we have available there, there is actually a section called Get Started. And under Get Started, you'll see the information to insert in the program submission. So the learning objectives. Learning objectives for all ethics courses are always standard across courses. So we've got those learning objectives there. Again, very easy for you to copy and paste the learning objectives from the content on the website into the learning objectives box for the program submission. Same thing too, we provide you instructions for the word count to put in. We also provide you with principal knowledge topic. All of that basic information that you need is all there and real easy for you to literally follow online from what's indicated on the website to what you see in the program submission process.
Kellyanne asks, can you show the screen again where the form is you are wanting us to submit by the end of the month?
Yeah, it's that program submission process. So again, just log into your CE sponsor portal, click on Add Program, and you'll just start, again, copying and pasting the information that's on our website into that program submission.
Carla asked, so it's a $500 sponsor fee plus a $500 ethics program fee and a 25-cent seat license per person who takes the course. Is that right?
I think you got an extra $500 there. You've already paid the $500, which is something that you do as a CE sponsor. That's your membership fee. So the sponsorship fee, again, there's only one sponsorship fee this year, not two. But you're correct. The program fee for the ethics course increased from $80 to $500. So again, you're saving the $80. We've talked about the seat license before, and again, we introduced this idea when we had our phone conversations with you this summer. We will most likely, probably third quarter, possibly even fourth quarter, start that charge. And again, it'll be tied very specifically to the number of course completions that you report within a specific period of time. So when, again, when we actually did it out, some of you, that seat license will be relatively minimal. For others, it might be a little bit more substantial.
Jessica asks, can we offer both the self-study live webinar as well as the classroom live? And Joanna, do you mind if I answer this?
No, go ahead.
So Jessica, the live presentation would be for both a live webinar and a live classroom. The self-study would be a presentation that has forced progression and has an exam at the end. A live webinar and a classroom ethics course, they are one and the same in terms of us. They're both considered live courses. Self-study would be self-study would be with a person who can access the course whenever they want, and they would view a recording of a live webinar or access through course materials with forced progression and activities throughout the material as well. Likewise, Jessica, please feel free to shoot me an email or give me a call. We can clarify that as needed. Andrew had asked, with a seat license, is it retroactive or something we will know before we are charged to be able to price the course according to the cover of the fee?
The seat license won't be retroactive. And again, we recognize that there is time and cost for you to develop this course. The seat license, like I said, will probably be charged with or charged based on attendance reported in the third quarter of the year. So any attendance reported April, May, and June would be exempt from that seat license. And again, depending upon the date at which we actually can distribute the materials, we may even push that to the fourth quarter. So again, no final decision has been made, but there will be no retroactive costs as it relates to the seat license. It will only be moving forward.
Ashley asked, is there an additional fee to have a live course if you've already paid for the self-study course?
There is. There are additional materials for the live course, for a live presentation, and we are in fact working on a package, a pricing package for sponsors that do have an interest in offering the course both live and self-study. So again, when we get to the point where we can distribute the materials, we'll have that information available for those of you that would like to offer it in both manners.
Is there anything else that you wanted to, any other questions you wanted to answer, Joanna?
No, those are all the questions that have come in. They've all been great questions. We very much appreciate your participation as well as your feedback. And again, as it relates to the cost, the expiration date, and actually one question just came in from Frank, and he said, what would be the expiration date for this new course? We're going to maintain the 2-year cycle that we've always had for Ethics CE. Obviously, we're a little bit behind with the adoption of the new standards, or preparing for the adoption of the new standards, but the course that you create will in fact be valid through December 31st, 2019. So again, we would like to thank you very much for your participation. This concludes the webinar for today. Within the next week or so, we'll send out an email, not only to thank you, but also with a link to an evaluation, because again, your feedback on these types of webinars is really invaluable to us. We'll also make sure that we provide some more details, again, based on some of the types of questions that you've asked where there's a little bit of confusion. But again, I think it'll become more clear and evident if, in fact, I can ask you to please go to the website, click on that CFP Board Ethics link, and just review all of the material and the pages there. We've gone to great lengths to explain the new process, and we think that you'll find the information helpful. So again, please don't hesitate to reach out to Matt or myself. We're here to help you through this process and to answer any questions that you have. Thank you for participating.